Hi, and welcome to the Divinely Inspired Woman podcast. I am your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins. I am a modern mystic, and I am here to share with you the beautiful wisdom and stories from women that desire to lead their lives inspired by the divine within them. The divinely inspired woman is devoted to walking the path of her soul's calling, tuning into the divinity within to navigate life with ease and grace through all circumstances. She cultivates beauty in her daily life. She is here to share the most authentic self each day through thick and thin. So I hope you'll enjoy our show today and that you will leave with an infusion of inspiration for your soul and for your day and living your life. Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Divinely Inspired Woman. I'm Patricia Wald-Hopkins, your host, and I have two amazing, beautiful women, light beings here with me today, Deborah LeeAnn&Susanne. Welcome, 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 ladies. So good to have you here. And they are here as emissaries of the School of Light Collective. And this is I don't want to necessarily call it, it's an organization. What would you call it, ladies? A collective of light beings, of human beings that are gathering together during these times.
Yeah, way showers.
Way showers. Yeah.
Wisdom
Well, let me tell
keepers.
you, what was that one?
Wisdom keepers.
Wisdom keepers. I like that. Truth tellers. Ecstatic
Cosmic
leaders. Cosmic guardians. There we go. Did we leave any? Oh, and divine ones. Yes. Those are actually some of the archetypes we'll be playing with today. But I want to tell you a little bit more about our guests. So just give me a moment here. I have to put on my spectacles. So I love both these women so much. They're dear to my heart, and I've known them a long time. So I'm really honored to have them here and to highlight their beauty here today. Susanne is a visionary guide and a wisdom keeper. She weaves together the gene keys, human design, sound healing, intuitive play to help others unlock their unique genius. She's rooted in a deep inner knowing and attuned to the rhythms of life. She leads with insight, integrity, and lightness, inviting others to embrace their soul's unfolding path. Susanne empowers seekers, way showers, and new earth leaders to cultivate trust in their inner guidance, expand their awareness, and embody their highest expression. She bridges ancient wisdom with modern transformation, holding space for those navigating uncertainty, deepening their self-care, and choosing to live in the flow with life. With a heart-centered approach, Susanne speaks to the souls of those ready to lead from intuition, presence, and play, guiding them to remember who they truly are and the impact they are here to create. Welcome, Susanne.
Thank you so much. Thanks for that.
Yeah. And Deborah LeeAnn. She has both professionally and personally devoted over 4 decades to helping leaders become their most creative, competent, and authentic selves, while supporting organizations to become places where talented people love to work and accomplish great things. Using the Leadership Circle profile, LCP TM, as a foundation, she provides coaching and facilitation work with leaders and teams that are centered in truth, with an aligned body, heart, and voice actions. She's guided by love and connected to the web of humanity. This creates space for each client to step up and into their brilliant light, radiating it in service to the collective. Woo! I loved reading those words. Isn't it? I don't know. Whenever I read somebody's bio, it just brings in a whole other layer of presence for them. But now I just want to focus on the light that is radiating from you right here now. And the words that want to come through. So we've introduced you a little bit. So I'm just going to open it up and let you share a little bit about what brought you here today. Eeny, me.
I know.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
So I know that this is a pivotal time in history right now. I'm sensing that with all my being. And recognizing the more I start using my voice, I'm finding like-minded or people that are in that space to gather. So for me, it's really essential that we start showing up for one another and showing up in community and helping support one another through the changes that are about to be engaged in, whether we like it or not. Change is inevitable. And so we're here to support one another through this process and remember who we are.
Mm-hmm. And for me, it feels very much like the days of the solopreneur, of the I'm going to do it all myself. I mean, the feminine empowerment phase of the last decade has now moved into this collective energy force. And we are being joined by star beings and the planetary alliances, and everything is saying, hey, it is time. And to act in a synarchy, you know? And so I've been in my ways of being in my shadow and hanging out with the human parts of myself. Sometimes I numb in these intense times because I feel so much and I don't know how to, I haven't quite learned how to stay completely open to it all the time, but that is my goal of how I want to be and how I want to support others. And one of the things is I have been playing a merge game where you merge three like things and then they become something bigger and more beautiful and more amazing. And of course, I'm doing one with fairies and, you know, ethereal beings, which makes me very happy. But as we find our fractal families, as Richard Rudd of the Gene Keys calls it, or our communities where we can be in anamkara and expose and our souls with each other, that is what will bring us the strength to see our way through this time. Whether we're in a leadership space or we're holding the space or we're, you know, catching up from behind, it doesn't matter, but we're all in this soup together. And why not find some beauty in it along the way? You know, remembering that there's light markers and there's folks like, for me, how this started, that Suzanne and I started our little podcast was over a year ago. We were like, hey, let's tune in. We have these weekly conversations anyway. Let's do Pulse of the Weeks from the Gene Keys and talk about it that way. And because I needed to feel that I could be supported and loved and seen by her. And then Trish shows up in some of our ones now in our integrations of the light beings. And so this year, as we move deeper into the different pillars and the light beings that hold the School of Light Collective, we are it's even more imperative that we feel the bigger community, that we feel the larger collective is the word that keeps coming to mind, so that we can all, like in the Avatar, you know, the woman that puts her hand on the tree of life, and then everyone puts their hands on her, and they create that spider web of connectivity, magical connectivity. That's what I'm working on in my star pearl. It's what I'm working on right here. So there you go.
Magical connectivity. I like that. Magical connectivity. The School of Light Collective is an anchor point for magical connectivity, I believe. And for the listeners, and I would like each one of you to talk a little bit about this if you feel called, but the School of Light birthed out of working with the Gene Keys. It was something that many of us have been exploring for, I don't even know how many years now. 7.
15. Over
7
10.
with the School of Light, but yes,
Oh
with
yeah,
Gene Keys even longer than that. But it's so my point is that it's anchored in the transmission of the Gene Keys, but it is so much more about building that community, right? And it has pillars of light around it that were received as downloads that represent these archetypes of the goddess, of Venus, but fully rooted in the earth. And so I would love it if you two would talk a little bit about the archetypes and what they mean to you and how they're showing up in these podcasts that you're doing right now or have been doing the last year, and now it's culminating in something new emerging.
Yeah, like when we first, I mean, we started studying these like back in 2017, and now it's 2025, and it's a slow process, but it's one of patience and understanding that everything unfolds in its own time. And so we weren't going to try and push something ahead of its time, and that just is not even doable. So following our intuitive nature, we started playing with each one of the pillars of light and tuning into the energy of those. And then we'd also look at the pulse of the week at the time. And so I really resonate with the wisdom keeper and the ancestral reverence that takes place within the wisdom keeper, of what, knowing what to keep and what to let go of, and then also being able to be a truth teller and being able to speak my truth. And so those two prominent, you know, forces, or even the divine, I mean, all of them are a part of who I am now, considering I've worked with them. But um Deborah, did you want to talk about the others, or do you want me to keep riffing?
I mean, you're on a roll, but I want to do a plug for the Ecstatic Leader, because that felt like the one I was the most resistant to, and it was the one where a lot of my Gene Keys are almost exactly the same as hers. So I thought, oh, okay, time to own it, or embody it, is my new word. So, and the Cosmic Guardian, and I see you as so much as the divine one, Suzanne, but we all have all of these energies within us. And when we embody them, when we activate them, when we allow them to take some residence, it just is such a different way of looking at the world and living in the world.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
needed. It's so needed.
Well, so, I'm sure you all have the way that you work with them, but when they first came to me, that was more of they came here as mentors, right? They came to the earth to provide mentoring guidance for living like the embodied goddess on earth. I mean, really bringing down the divinity into the human body and enjoying being a masterful human being, of service, or however you want to put it. And I'll just say that they came down in a certain order, and I know that everybody will resonate with where their entry point is for them. But Suzanne, right, the wisdom keeper was the first, the one that anchored, and it was about the gathering of the women together. And it's not that the School of Light is completely for women, right? But there is that anchor point in the wisdom of our ancestors. And so I just the next one that came through was it wasn't the truth teller.
Divine one,
The
ecstatic.
divine one came through next, and then it was the cosmic guardian, then the truth teller, and then the ecstatic leader is the pinnacle, right? I had to go through the sequence and see how the pillars landed. So there is actually a path, I think. Would you two talk about the path with the School of Light?
We didn't follow that.
I know, but that's what I mean. The entry point was not that. And so I'm curious about the path, because that's how it came to me. But how did it come to you? Because everybody's going to find their own way, right?
Right. And Suzanne, it was looking at the pulse calendar and looking at what keys, when we were going through the activation sequence of each of the light beings, we looked at, oh wow, if we started on the life's work of truth teller and this week of whatever, it just felt like they were so aligned that I don't know. I just felt like they needed to, and maybe that's when they wanted to have their debut. I don't know.
Yeah, now they're following the rhythms, right? They came
Yeah.
in a certain way, but now they follow the rhythms.
Right. And just like each one of us has our own rhythm to how we show up in our life and what we're here to activate or learn, the same goes for the light beings that we're anchoring into now, which is always the ever present now.
The
Continuous, no timeline now. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. What would you say some of the gifts that you've received since working with these archetypes yourself over the last several years, when they really became prevalent, that this was the School of Light was based on these beautiful beings?
I think we started putting together, besides the master class that we had done on each of them years ago, on each of these pillars, we thought we were going to do a full activation for each of these archetypes, and provide not just the masterclass, but like a playbook and an anointing oil and like a full embodiment, like drop in and immerse yourself in this energy. And it's kind of been kicking our butt. The truth teller was relatively easy. For some reason, it was easy for you and I to do our pieces and put it together, and we did it. And then Wisdom Keeper comes along and we got glitched. The ecstatic leader is almost ready to go, but I can feel where we are not able to, there's a glitch in the system or whatever, like there's a resistance of allowing this to be fully received in our energy system, which is probably in all of the energy system that we're feeling. So we're feeling the bigness. and I don't know. I wanted you to speak to that, Suzanne, because what are your thoughts? Because I know, remember how we were like rolling along, we're going to do this, and it was on a calendar, and then it was like,
no. Exactly. It was yes, 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 pause. And it was like, okay, but the old ways of creating new things sometimes. I mean, I think everybody who's listening can relate to this, where, you know, especially if you come from corporate America or wherever, right? So it's like you got your deadlines and then you mark it all out and it's this. But when you follow your intuition, sometimes it's pause, wait for the right timing, and then when it's ready, it clicks into gear, and it's easy, it's effortless, and it doesn't feel like you're, you know, mountain climbing. You're like more like surfing or skiing down a mountain. You know, it's like it's more easy, it's in flow. So that's, I think, what we're honoring too, is that divine flow and not the force part. Like I think that's the balance that we are learning in being all of who we are, is honoring the divine feminine as well as divine masculine. So when we get the very specific, clear message and it feels good in our bodies, we take inspired action. And that is what this podcast is all about. And I love the fact that Patricia has offered this for the community, because you realize that we each have that innate ability within ourselves, that we have to keep following the breadcrumbs. And that's what the School of Light has been doing, but not in the timeline that everyone might expect. So just honoring the process.
And I want to honor the fear that's there. There is still some fear about certain things that are like, oh, that's, and that's what I was feeling when I was writing the Ecstatic Leader playbook, which is done for the most part. But I couldn't, you know, I had to kind of revisit it every week. I kept it on the calendar as something that needed to be done. And then it was like, oh, today's the day. So yeah. So there's, but it's still not completely a package yet. You know what I mean? So I can see how, I don't know if that's her, if that's us, but I want to honor the human fear and the stuckness and the energy that feels like you're moving through quicksand sometimes. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
That
there.
creative process. I think for me, the School of Light was part of a larger creative process, right? And you didn't know, when we were holding community circles for 5 years, we didn't even know they were pillars yet, right? It was just like I was told I need to hold these, and I did. And then look where we are today, right? And it's like I did my piece. I laid the structure down, and then Deborah and Suzanne, you came in and you've been creating the community around it, because that's what your role is, right? We have our different roles. And I think the School of Light for me has been a lesson in learning when your role is needed and when it's not. Like, it's not that you're not needed, but when you go, you it's not about someone being the leader all the time. It's about letting people step forward when they're the ones, and then stepping back and holding space when you're not the one that needs to be in the forefront. And it's been a beautiful learning experience for me to watch the two of you like blossom the last couple of years in creating the community around you. And where do you see this? Let me listen, because I'm listening to divine inspiration here. There's something about, I'm getting that there's a door. There's a door to the School of Light that is opening this year. Does that resonate with you? And if it does, could you talk a little bit about it?
I really, I feel it this coming year as we kind of, I don't know how else to say, we come online. I think we may have premeditated it last year and thinking that that was when it was, you know, when it was to be born. And it was, again, not, it's like, okay, not in that timing, it's in divine timing. So let it go until it's ready. It's kind of like when you think about nine months of gestation, and you can't have the baby before it's time. Like, you see the seed and you know that it's going to happen, and so you're like, they're going to be born about this time. And I think when we thought that it was going to be born was the time that it was conceived. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it feels like that we had to go through the portal first.
Right.
Yes.
And the process of the birth canal has been tight and dark, and we're still, trying to find our way. And then we'll be able to hang the lights and say, the doors are open. But I think until we get through the whole process, it's allowing us to experience that. The other piece, and I'm just going to go ahead and bring it in, is the Gene Keys Pearl. We're in the Star Pearl together at this time, and that process is kind of like kickstarting us in the different directions that will allow us to move more fully expressed into holding the space for the school.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Does that make sense?
It doesn't. And I just want to pause there because I get so excited and about what you all are talking about, and just to give credit to Richard Rudd and the Gene Keys, and for the inspiration that it has fueled through us. I mean, for me, it was the Gene Keys. Like, I really feel like sometimes it saved my life when I first encountered them, a long time ago. And so I feel like we're individuating with the Gene Keys, but just wanting to honor, Richard, for his beautiful work.
And I don't know where and how we want to go or how you would do this, Trish, but I have been, as part of my daily practices, saying the incantation of solace. I need it, and I feel like it is needed, and I'm going to mute.
Oh, you want to say it here? I would love that. I don't have it handy, so you'd have to pull it up. Suzanne.
While she's pulling that up, just maybe everybody put their hand on their heart and remember that that divine spark in you is always there. And breathing in light and exhaling love. And let's just take a moment and just breathe in light and exhaling love. Mm. And Deborah, we can't hear you.
Let me see if I can do it for her.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The Holy Incantation of Solace by Richard Rudd. And I'm going to do the mudras as well. May love pour through our soul, weaving us together as one. May light flower in our heart, lending us the grace to transform all fear. May warmth radiate our belly, bringing prosperity to all. May purity shimmer in our bones, filling us with the light of the stars. May kindness resound in our voice, softening the way that lies ahead. May clarity shine through our mind as we lie in the arms of the infinite. May solace abound in our life, touching all who we meet. May solace abound in the world, bringing all beings into perfect union. And say that again with me, if you please. May solace abound in the world,
abound in the world,
bringing all beings into perfect union.
bringing all beings into perfect union. Thank you, Deborah. And so we're coming close to the end of our time together, and there are a couple of things that I want to make sure you have an opportunity to share about, including how people can connect with you and the School of Light. But before that, speaking of the pulse, I just want to acknowledge that, as you mentioned, we're in the womb, but we're in that womb. And right now we're in that opportunity for a revolution and a rebirth, right? So here we are today, holding that frequency for a new way, a social way, right? A change in the way that we live our lives in our social networks. So thank you for showing up today to anchor that into the field with me here. And now, do you have one little last pearl, or it could be a large one, of wisdom to share with the community? And then we'll have a little time to let people know how to reach out to you.
For me, I know that it's really tempting to live our lives through the mental space, especially as a person who has been very logical most of my life. To then lean in, it takes a little effort to lean into that other aspect of yourself that's really magical, and that it is beyond what we actually see and know. We just know it in our bodies. We feel it when it resonates. So it's dropping from the head into our heart space and living from that aligned love. And this is an opportunity for each of us to play in that space and to remember who we are.
Beautiful.
And mine are relatively simple. The 4 pillars of the Gene Keys work, which I have actually put as pillars in my work as well, I feel are so important. And they are, and I don't know if these are in order of my mantra because of the importance in my life, but gentleness, patience, inquiry, and contemplation.
Mm.
And may we give ourselves that so that we can be available to give that to others and the world at this time.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. So, Suzanne and Deborah, you guys can take turns. But let us know, how can the community that's listening, tuning in, reach out to you if they wish to, or find you?
Well, our YouTube channel at Tuning In, or the School of Light Collective podcast is what it's called. But you could search Tuning In ... Or it's under as well Suzanne Joie and Deborah LeeAnn. We're on Vimeo, but YouTube is where there's a lot of space for comments, reflections. And then we each have websites, and mine is DeborahLeeAnn.com. And
mine is Suzanne, Susanne, Joy, spelled JOIE.com.
Wonderful. Well, I encourage the listeners to check out this podcast. It's amazing. and also to tune in to Deborah LeeAnn&Susanne and their specific body of work that they hold. So you're both so dear to my heart, and thank you so much for spending time with me here today. And I hope that you will be back for an update later this year. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Stay divinely inspired. Bye-bye. Much love. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Divinely Inspired Woman. Again, I'm your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins, and I am so glad that you joined us here today. I hope you left with some soul food to inspire your daily life. And if you would like to learn more about my work, please check out my website, patriciawaldhopkins.com, and you can find out more about my divinely inspired practice and tools. So, thank you again. Have a beautiful day. Hi, I'm dropping in here with an announcement about a program, a new mentorship that I am offering. It's called Voices of Gaia, and it's about bringing your voice, your leadership, your life in alignment with Gaia's guidance. So if you feel called to learn more about this program, it's a beautiful, rich program where we dive into your essence, and if you so desire, we develop your business around it and really blossom into your whole lifestyle, this wisdom from Gaia that wants to be spoken through you. So if you feel called, reach out to me at patricia@patriciawaldhopkins.com. That's patricia@patriciawaldhopkins.com. There's no hyphen between Wald and Hopkins. And I would just love to hear from you and see if this is a good fit. So thank you for tuning in. Have a beautiful day.